So you've heard that there might be a rulemaking coming out of the Federal Maritime Commission about detention and demurrage. And your business is affected by changes in detention and demurrage. So how do you get involved? Does your voice actually even get heard if you file comments? How do rulemakings even work? Hello and welcome to Squall Strategies Captain's Log, your best source for maritime industry updates and analysis. I'm Lauren Began, founder of Squall Strategies, a boutique law firm specializing in federal regulatory analysis, including FMC mock audits and reviews, advice and consultation on potential regulatory impacts to your business, foreign tariff and trade expertise, general maritime consulting, and any other maritime-related matters that you need help with. For more information, visit www.squallstrategies.com. So today we're talking about federal rulemakings. So an agency has said that they would like to start a rulemaking. What happens now? So for ease of discussion, we're actually going to be using the Federal Maritime Commission and their announcement about the detention and demurrage rulemaking. A lot of you are interested in it, and so let's dive into it. So on September 15th, 2021, the FMC voted to move forward with an ANPRM. So what's an ANPRM? It's an Advanced Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. So what does that mean? So an ANPRM is used when an agency wants to learn more from the industry that they regulate. They might have a few questions that they want initial reactions to, or they might not even have a specific direction that they really want to take it yet. Remember, this is an advance notice of proposed rulemaking. So maybe they just want to see how well a proposed rules idea, even a topic, is even received. So ANPRMs are generally open for 30 to 60 days, but can actually be open for shorter or longer depending on how wide of a net the agency actually wants to cast. If they do vary from the norm of the 30 to 60 days, generally it's going to have some sort of a justification with it. So if the timeline is longer, if they even go 90, maybe 180 days, the agency might explain that they went with a longer time period because they were concerned about the message getting out into every area of the industry. They wanted to give additional time to reach all those in the far corners. It can happen, and that's fine. Some of the drawbacks of having a very long open comment period is that it's going to take the whole process a little bit longer to get going, especially if there's demand from the industry that they really want a rulemaking here. But sometimes the longer comment period will really afford for the extra thoughts and the extra comments and the extra input that the agency is seeking at this ANPRM stage. So additionally, some agencies will even accept comments filed late. They're not required to, but don't despair. If you find out about a rulemaking and you find out that the comment period ends on Wednesday and you find out on a Monday, try to get it in on Wednesday. But if you can't get it in until Friday, submit it. You never know. Maybe they'll take it under advisement. Even a week late, even 2 weeks late. It takes a while to get through all of those comments. So if you have something to say, try to throw it in there. I'd say that the spirit of a rulemaking is really to make a rule that makes sense and essentially codifies or turns into a formal rule, a practice that's already common, that's already out in the industry. So let's go back to the FMC example. The FMC voted to issue an ANPRM, like we said, an Advance Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. So in this instance, they're asking two questions to the industry. First, whether the Commission should require ocean common carriers and marine terminal operators, or MTOs, to include certain minimum information on or with detention and demurrage billings. So they're asking, when one of these entities is billing you for detention or demurrage, currently there's no requirement of any information there. Should they be required to release a certain minimum information? Maybe that's how many days you were over. Maybe that's the breakdown. So maybe the first 5 days is this price, and then the next days after the 6 through plus days, you exponentially go up in price. Should it be broken down without just referring you back to the tariff or whatever charges sheet that they have? So that's the first question. The second question is whether the Commission should require carriers and marine terminal operators to adhere to certain practices regarding the timing of detention and demurrage billings. Now, this is a little bit vague of a question, and I'm interested to see how it's interpreted, because this could be taken two different ways. Regarding the timing of detention and demurrage billings, are the billings being turned over too late? Is it a year later and they're just getting billed for the detention and demurrage? Or is it more when they bill for detention and demurrage, they're not exactly explaining how they're billing for it? So they might just give you a full number, you owe $8,000, but they're not giving you the breakdown and the timing breakdown of that $8,000. So I'm interested to see. This might require an additional ANPRM from the Federal Maritime Commission, or they might clarify it when they go into their proposed rulemaking stage. So again, this first stage, the advance notice of proposed rulemaking, it's just a fact-finding stage. It's a formal process, but it's really kind of almost, you can imagine it to be the informal version of asking the industry, what do you think? What's your input? So you might be asking yourself, do they really want to hear from me? I mean, do my comments even matter? The answer is yes, especially at this stage. The ANPRM stage is so squarely perfect for anybody, even the smallest groups out there, to submit comments. The smallest business, the smallest anything, you think that they might not care about what you have to say. They do, and they want to know. So especially here with the FMC, they've made an extra effort to get out into the industry right now, connect with the users of the industry, and make sure that the shipping world knows that they're there for their benefit. Remember, the Federal Maritime Commission mission is an independent regulatory agency responsible for regulating the U.S. international ocean transportation system for the benefit of U.S. exporters, importers, and the U.S. consumer. Their mission is to regulate and make sure that it's fair and make sure that it does benefit U.S. exporters, importers, and the U.S. consumer. I know, the old adage, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. But in this instance, they actually are, or at least they're trying to. And they're small enough that they don't often get bogged down by the red tape. So what happens next? We've had the ANPRM, the Advance Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. Well, next comes the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. So this isn't an advanced stage anymore. We are now working toward getting a rulemaking going. So after the comments have come in from the ANPRM, we now go into the agencies collecting them, and they decide whether to move on to the next stage. So in this case, the next stage will be the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. So this will have a more solid description of the rule that they're proposing, and they once again will solicit feedback, but it'll be on the actual proposed rule. So this gives you a little bit more clarity into the agency's intention of the rulemaking. The agency must respond to any comments that they receive, and they must provide rationale for accepting or not accepting the comments. So again, advance notice of proposed rulemaking is just a general information gathering stage. The notice of proposed rulemaking, the agency itself has a little bit more clarity, or a lot more clarity, on where they want to go, and they're letting the public know that this is the proposed rule that they intend to move forward on. What do you think? Please send in your comments. And at that point, they also want to hear your comments. So next, we go into the final rule. So the agency moves into a final rule after they've gone through the notice of proposed rulemaking and they've received comments. This is where the rule is final as published, and it actually will have an effective date on it. So for the most part, the comment periods are over, and the final rule is, this is the final rule as written. It will go into effect on such and such a date. At this point, unless the agency actually receives a significant adverse comment, the rule will go into effect. So listen to that. If you're extremely concerned about the draft of the final rule that comes out in that final rule language, file that comment. Make it known. Make it specifically known what you have a problem with, and most importantly, what you would do to amend that rulemaking and justify and rectify that concern. Because they don't just want to hear that you're upset about it. They want to hear how you propose it be changed, or the specific part of the rule that you don't like. So let's go back to the FMC example. The FMC currently right now is only at the pre-ANPRM stage. So we have the advanced notice of proposed rulemaking. They haven't even filed that yet. They haven't even published that yet. What they've done so far is the FMC itself has authorized an ANPRM to be created. So, likely, the General Counsel's Office of the Federal Maritime Commission is drafting it up now. I expect the ANPRM to be announced in the next month or two. At this recording, we're at the end of October. I would expect maybe November, December. But as we all know, the Federal Maritime Commission is a relatively small agency with a lot going on right now, due to being the agency most appropriately delegated to handle a lot of the congestion problems from the regulatory standpoint. So what can you do? You want to file comments of this ANPRM. It's not out there yet. What can you do right now? Take an honest look at how detention and demurrage affects your business. Are there ways that you would change it in the industry? Are there ways that you see the practices around D&D, there's room for improvement? Maybe you hire an attorney like me to review your detention and demurrage, either how you assess them out to your customers or how you are charged for them. Remember, even though you're being charged for them, you might have a voice here as well. You might be able to file your comments. And really, that's who I think the FMC is looking to talk to through this comment period and through this comment practice, is they want to know whether you are charged the D&D or you are charging it out. What can change? What can clarify this? What can make this a little less murky? The FMC has made it known that they want D&D to be used as an incentive for cargo movement, and they want those practices to be reasonable. And so, is the way that you see D&D, detention and demurrage, being used right now, is it incentivizing cargo movement? Is it just a cash grab? Are people just going out there and adding it as a surplus line for their profits? Really, that's not what it's supposed to be used for, as the FMC has made it known, and being the regulators on this issue. And again, they really want the practices to be reasonable. Maybe you start putting together your ideas for how you will respond to the ANPRM when it's announced and published. I'd be happy to work with you to help you work through your thoughts and even start drafting up comments. 30 to 60 days in the normal comment period really isn't that long when you're moving at the speed of business and have a million other things on your plate. So sometimes it's nice to have some outside sourcing to help you draft up your thoughts and pull together your comments in a way that will be responded to and in a way that the FMC will find benefit from, but also it'll help clarify your thoughts and your comments as you want them presented. So I hope this helps you understand on a very basic level the rulemaking process and what to expect as the FMC gets ready to release their ANPRM on detention and demurrage. If you'd like to know when the FMC releases their ANPRM, please reach out to me to be notified, or follow me on LinkedIn, this YouTube channel, Squall Strategies, or sign up for my email distribution on my website at www.squallstrategies.com to stay in the know for this and many other maritime-related matters. Again, this is Lauren Began, and you've just listened to Squall Strategies Captain's Log. For more information or to get in touch with us, go to www.squallstrategies.com. See you next time.